Hello everyone, it's Charlie, and for the last couple of years, reading has really become one of my favorite hobbies. I always try to keep a book on me, whether it's to read a page or a few chapters or the whole book. I always try to just keep it on me, and I always have reading on the back of my mind. And every time people tell me that they're interested in reading or they kind of want to get into it, but they really don't know how, I get the same few questions, so I thought I would just share my perspective on reading. Maybe tell you how I go about it, how I went about it when I started, how I go about it now, how things change. Obviously, everyone's different, but just kind of my experience with it. And maybe you can take a few things from it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you apply some things. Maybe they don't work. You take whatever you want. First, I feel like many things, reading kind of starts with a purpose. Whether you want to improve yourself or improve your financial situation, your bank account. Learn about a place and time, learn about a historical figure, or you want to escape reality, whatever it may be. There's always a book for everything, it seems like. Personally, I started reading kind of to escape my day to day. I wanted to live life through this character in this world that wasn't mine. And I feel like sometimes you can kind of learn things with that, learn things that you living your life you wouldn't really learn or really wouldn't experience. You can experience through these characters. And yeah, I started reading a lot of non-fictions and a lot of like teen books, books that people would normally read in high school, but I didn't. And that's how I started. And although I started reading books like that, now I read completely different books. And I still enjoy a lot of non-fictions, a lot of coming of age stories, a lot of that type of writing. But just because I started reading books like that didn't mean I didn't branch out. And I feel like this is very normal for readers. You kind of start enjoying the action of reading if you do end up liking it, and you kind of see, I need help in this space in my life or in this aspect of my life. Let me go read a book about that. Or look at this author, Shakespeare, for example. Look at this author. Look at his writing is very notorious, very different, obviously. Let me check it out. I kind of like the story. I kind of saw a movie about it. And this is how you kind of develop your taste. At first I didn't like certain books. I'm pretty sure now I'm reading books that I had no idea that I was going to read when I first started reading. Books that I thought were silly or, dumb or whatever. Funny enough, kind of have a way of coming back around. But I found myself liking the action of finishing these books. I don't know what it was. Just reading from beginning to end, you kind of get this sense of satisfaction, this sense of accomplishment. Like I put time apart each day to read this book. I spent time on this book and I actually got it done. Every book has a different takeaway. That's a lesson that I learned while reading. That whether it's, I love this genre, I love this character, I love this event, this book really changed me, or flat out, I don't like this book. That's kind of how you develop your taste as well. You kind of read books that you totally hated. Oh my God, I never want to read this again. Maybe the author sucks. I don't know, whatever it may be. Now to, not go to that author or whatever it may be, not go to that type of book, that genre, whatever it is. Now, with that being said, funny enough, the books that I most enjoyed were actually books that I just went blindly into. Books that I got recommended by someone, or books that I just picked up, didn't even look at the back, thought, the cover was cool, or I read a page of it, I thought this was interesting. Those are the books that I liked the most. I had no idea who the author was. I had no idea the genre of the book, what type of book it was. And I actually enjoyed it. I feel like that's another way people kind of build up their taste. Because a question that I get a lot is, what book do I read? What book do I start off with? I heard about this one, I heard about that one, but are they actually good? This and that. To those people, to that question, I would just say read them. You might like one, you might like both, you might not like any of them. You might not like the book that I recommend you to read. It's so personal that no one's gonna really know but you. Now, back to the whole cover thing. I know everyone has heard this 5 million times at least, but simply don't judge a book by its cover. I know, so cliche. I know you heard it. I'm sorry I had to say it. I'm sorry you had to hear me say that, but that's totally true. You don't know how many covers I thought were disgustingly ugly. I read the book and it was the beautiful, just a perfect literature. And half of the time, sadly, a perfect cover doesn't have a perfect story, and most of the times a good story has a bad cover. There are some rare occasions that That's true. You get a good cover and a good story. Kind of sometimes, most of the times, at least in my case, the cover kind of grows on you. I don't know. It's something weird, I guess. I don't know. Another thing that I learned recently in my reading journey, whatever you want to call it, kind of sounds dumb calling it a reading journey, but I didn't believe in, stopping a book, like going halfway or reading a few pages and just stopping it. I kind of felt like it was kind of pointless. You're kind of stalling for no reason. But now I completely know why. Sometimes a book could really start feeling like a task. And that's another thing. When a book is a task, it's not enjoyable. At least personally, it doesn't feel as enjoyable as it is just reading. When a book feels like a task and it's like, I have to reach this amount of pages, I have to read this faster, I have to understand this faster, it doesn't become enjoyable anymore. Now when I get that feeling, I don't completely just stop the book, put it down, and never pick it up again. I simply just put it on pause. I read a book or two, 3 or 4, whatever it may be, but I start reading other things, maybe different genres, something a little bit completely different from the book. At least that helps me to kind of not bore myself and enjoy the act of reading, because once you start unenjoying it, then there's no more. It's very unlikely for you to get back into a book. So to the people who want to start reading, whatever you want to take from it, whatever your purpose may be, reading could potentially give you that, and you might surprise yourself. In a couple of books, you might be reading things that you had no idea that you would be reading, because I found myself in that position. So where am I now in my reading journey, whatever you want to call it? I just finished 2 books last week, counting this week. So last week I finished If We Were Villains, and this week I finished The Stranger in a Lifeboat, I think it's called, by Mitch Albom. Not sure what his name is. And the big book that is on pause is A Little Life. I feel like people who watch my channel probably think I hate this book or something from how on pause I put this book and how much I stopped reading it. Even though I feel like if I was to go back to it now, I probably would get a hefty, good reading. I'm currently at 264 pages. There's still a big chunk of that. The book I want to read next, though, I put A Little Life on pause, so I want it to mean something in a way, because I have a lot of books just sitting on my shelf collecting dust, so I kind of want to read them, get through them. So I've been kind of going through these smaller books, these smaller reads that I can just get through, aka The Stranger in the Lifeboat. Mitch Albom, the way he writes his books is just such an easy read, such a good read to it. It doesn't take away anything from the writing. But I do have a couple of his books. So I do have a couple of books I want to read. 1984, this is currently what I'm going to start reading. I also have Tuesdays with Morrie. I really want to get into this as well. I'm also currently doing the Hard 75 challenge. Today is actually my first day, the day of me recording this. So it requires you to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. So I'm reading The Hero of with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell, and it's about like how every story is essentially the same. This is probably the only nonfiction book I have, so that's why I'm reading this. Maybe I might pick up another one to do with the challenge. And then another book that I want to read right now is King Lear, Shakespeare. I think it's kind of a lot of things in my life right now kind of are based around this. I just finished If We Were Villains, and this plays a big role in that. And my girlfriend loves Succession, and supposedly this plays a big role in it as well. So I've kind of put the big book on break. I'm kind of picking up these smaller books, these smaller stories. Oh, another one I want to do is Animal Farm, another short little read. I don't even know how many pages it is, but it looks fairly thin. So I think I could get that done in a day or two. So yeah, I'm kind of just putting pause this big book, trying to get these smaller ones out of the way. It kind of sounds like a chore, kind of sounds like a thing, but it's totally not. I'm really enjoying these books. It's just, different stories, different adventures, different lessons to be learned. But yeah, if you really want to get into reading, I highly recommend it. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I know some people find it jarring and boring and whatnot. To those people, don't pick up the book. There's nothing wrong with that either. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.
I love you. you, Charlie. I love you.